So let's get the stand up, and then I'll follow you with the light. Yes, sir. Okay, here we go.
Pretty sure you guys are aware you can't do this.
No. Well, we don't quite understand why we can't do it, because it's just protected freedom of speech.
Yeah, you don't make the rules. You can't protect it off the board. So you got to unplug it.
You know, we're just tough in the cold and you know, being a little creative, and it seems like it's completely reasonable. But I just want to know the rule, because otherwise, like, what's the line for what's freedom, what's speech, and what's not speech?
What are the boundaries of free speech? Across the country, activists are testing them.
An American artist has left his mark on one of Donald Trump's towers, lighting it up in protest.
A lot of times when I talk about projections and legality, I always say it's a gray area. But just with any technology, it can be used by either side.
NPR this weekend just reported on a group of self-described Nazis who have been projecting giant 5-story tall swastikas.
That's behavior we can't tolerate here in the state of Florida.
It was just too potent of a propaganda machine.
The Florida projection ban will definitely be litigated.
It's graffiti of a type, but just of a new technology. So we're rolling with the times.
I've seen a lot of protests over the years covering politics. Usually there are banners chanting, and sometimes the cops break it up.
Double-digit lead has just continued.
I was covering a Senate debate in Pennsylvania when two men projected tax the ultra-rich into my shot.
I think that message came through very clearly.
I thought the police would shut it down, but they didn't, and I wanted to understand why. What I found was an unsettled conflict in American law.
Thanks. Have a good night.
All day, all week, Occupy Wall Street. All day, all week.
Occupy Wall Street was one of the first movements to use projection protest.
Do the chant, we are unstoppable, another world is possible. Let's do that for a while.
We are unstoppable, another world is possible. We are unstoppable.
Since then, this form of protest has been on the rise as consumer projectors have become smaller, cheaper, and more powerful.
Twitter headquarters in San Francisco, an activist projected very visible signs on the Twitter building criticizing Musk and protesting recent developments at the company.
A call for Attorney General Jeff Sessions to step down. The message reads, Sessions must go and fire Sessions.
In San Francisco, a ceasefire in Gaza message was projected onto the Ferry building last night.
Are guerrilla light projection protests legal?
The law professor answer is it depends. Is the property private or public? I think the projections that are most clearly problematic are those that are on private property. But even those on public property are relatively constrained, and I think the government might have good arguments for why they should be unlawful.
Projection artists have the right to do projection art in all of the public forums that people are allowed to freely speak otherwise. Most of the charges that I would see light projection protesters arraigned for were very low-level nuisance charges that really reflected that police didn't know what to charge people with, but wanted to charge them with something.
That's the shot. That's exactly what we're looking for. Because we've been projecting for so long, for over 20 years, we know that we have a right to do it. And we've kind of set a precedent that we're allowed to do this. What's the problem, officer?
Robin Bell is probably the biggest name in projection protest.
We did our first kind of well-known Trump projection in November 2016, right after he got elected. Then we did a large series of projections very regularly on his building throughout his first term.
Those projections onto the D.C. Trump Hotel made national headlines.
Another message for the president overnight, this one projected onto the Trump International Hotel.
A D.C.-based artist is using art to voice his frustrations with the Trump administration. Robin Bell used a projector.
The first projection that truly went viral, the Pay Trump Bribes Here, that was insane. From the moment we did the actual projection to when it went worldwide was 3 hours. By midnight, we knew that we were on to something much bigger. I think we did 24 interviews in 24 hours. We got featured in nearly every publication in the planet. When we first started projecting on the Trump Hotel, it was a lot more cat and mouse with the security and with the police. And we had to really kind of establish, no, we're legally allowed to be here. You know, after about a year of it, they're just tired. Like, they're tired of it, and then the DC police got tired because, you know, we're like, call the police. You can't touch us, we're on public property. When Trump said whole countries, we did project whole on the Trump Hotel, and we had little emoji poops flying out of it.
I was seeing pictures of friends from DC posting about the projections onto the Trump Hotel. While I was sort of initially amused, like many people, I started thinking, what's the logical extension of this? For somebody who studies the property torts, which I do as a scholar of property, those are trespass, which we think of as boundary crossings, and nuisances, which are interferences with another's use and enjoyment of property. This just keyed up my interest. There are cases specifically about projections, one out of Nevada and the other out of Pennsylvania. The Nevada court said this is not a trespass. Traditionally, trespass has required a physical boundary crossing. The Pennsylvania case, a nuisance action was alleged. They weighed the speech interests of the projector really quite strongly in finding that it wasn't a nuisance. I don't disagree that this is not properly within the purview of trespass. I do disagree that this might be within the purview of nuisance.
In this society, the voices that are amplified are the voices with access to unlimited money. Normal folks don't have that, but normal folks with a light end up much more visible in the public dialogue. This is Backbone Campaign's warehouse space. It's like Santa's workshop for activists. We started with giant puppets.
Over the years, the Backbone campaign has used many forms of public spectacle, and these days, light projection is their tactic of choice.
And it became such a compelling tool that we started sharing it with others and training other people to do it. So our purpose here is to support Starbucks workers who are unionizing all over the country. You know, we internalize a lot of limitations around what's acceptable to do. It's always a little bit of it triggers some of that internal kid thing that doesn't want to get yelled at or scolded.
If the police have an incorrect idea of the law, you can't talk them out of it. Your options are either to comply with them even though what they're ordering you to do is unlawful, or get arrested and challenge it with a lawsuit. Talking police out of things just doesn't work.
NPR this weekend just reported on a group of self-described Nazis who have been projecting giant 5-story tall swastikas.
Yes. National Socialists, yes.
Yes.
White nationalists, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so to be in our group, we are in Nottoway, Florida, but you don't actually have to be a National Socialist. You know, we'll take anybody that's definitely at least a white nationalist. We like to kind of coach them into our ideology.
Do you want the mask up the whole interview out here?
Yeah, kind of. You know, people know me, but I try to keep my face off camera as much as possible because I work around people's homes. I gotta feed my kids. A few months ago, we could project high onto buildings and people could see our images for miles versus this, where, yeah, we'll get a few thousand people that drive by, but it's just not nearly as impactful. The main thing we're trying to do right now is gain membership. You have a good day.
That guy's interested?
Probably. Earlier, a guy drove by and threw a Roman salute at us, so our people are around. So there's a happy guy right there. The reason why we started researching the light projection was because we hadn't actually seen any activist groups on our end do it. And it turns out it was legal.
Then on Saturday, also in Jacksonville, the message "Kanye was right" about Jews was scrolling. I don't know if it's hard to see, but it was scrolling outside of the football stadium during the big Georgia-Florida game.
The first one was "Kanye is right about the Jews." And it was already huge in the media.
It's a reference to the series of anti-Semitic comments the rapper made recently.
By 10 p.m. that night, it was going viral. You know, it went international. It was insane. The cross swastika stayed up for about half an hour just because we really wanted to kind of drive that one home. So we were 6 feet below ground level right there and kind of like tucked away in a little cove, shining up at that building. There was a cop probably 50 yards from us. Never saw a thing. If you're not in the path of the beam, it's extremely hard to see where the light's coming from.
There was an article a few days ago in NPR about a right-wing group doing projection.
I haven't seen it. It'll break my heart a little bit, but yeah. Oh. Christian fascism. Wow, that's pretty terrible. Tonight, we're going to be doing a projection onto Starbucks headquarters. I'll be the liaison with any sort of interaction with security or the police. And then we can have compassion for the security guards who are on their own learning curve about what's okay and what's allowed in this space. There's no such thing as trespassing with light. As long as we're not selling something, as long as it's not commercial speech, it's protected speech, protected First Amendment speech. We'll have about an hour beforehand nearby there where we'll park. For folks who aren't used to seeing their aspirations and their values in the media, light projection is particularly special. This thing seems like a good spot right there.
It's for you guys to not shine it on the building.
No, but we are going to shine it on the building. Yeah. So then why don't you come down and be right underneath at the belly of the siren?
How are you guys?
Good, thank you. I'm Bill.
Good?
Everything's great. Everything's good. We're just going to be here for a little bit.
You guys are protesting?
Yeah, this is expressing our First Amendment.
Yeah, but
you cannot project on the property.
But we actually can.
It's pretty normal exchange.
Yeah, it's pretty normal. They don't believe that we're allowed to project onto the building, but I'm just saying that, you know, they can go ahead and call the Seattle police if they want to.
Hi there.
How y'all doing? Just so you know, I got a camera on. Just got a call from Starbucks. Just want us to check to see what you're doing, but you're not doing anything all that bad. You're just putting stuff on the building.
Yeah.
Just for pictures. All right. Are you guys planning on going on the property or doing anything over there at all?
Definitely not.
We're leaving soon. Excellent.
Right.
Have a good night.
You too.
Later over email, the Seattle Police Department told me that anyone can project First Amendment speech onto public or private buildings. But Seattle, like most other U.S. cities, has no official policy about projection protest.
We knew from the moment we fielded the laser it was going to be illegal. It was just too potent of a propaganda machine.
This can't go on. Anti-Semitism and hate have no place in Florida, and that's why I'm proud to announce HB 269. What my bill did is it made it illegal to project an image onto a building without the written permission on hand from the owner of the building.
The First Amendment generally forbids governments from restricting speech based on the content or the medium of the speech. The interesting carve-out that the Florida legislators have done is the consent of the property owner. It isn't an entire restriction of the medium. It also isn't really a restriction of hate speech.
And so on some levels, you know, I knew we were kind of pulling a loophole there. We were exploiting something that hadn't been done before.
And if they project something that's hateful of a religious or ethnic animus, then we're going to make it a third-degree felony.
Hate speech is a difficult subject under the First Amendment because the contours between speech that is likely to cause harm to other people and speech that is simply expressing a negative opinion of other people, it's hard to draw the line between those two. I'm not sure if this Florida enactment will pass constitutional muster.
They were projecting a poop emoji on Trump Tower for like 4 years straight. The moment we started espousing our worldview, it was very, very quickly made illegal.
Is the swastika hate speech?
This is one of these deceptively difficult questions. Is a swastika hate speech? I certainly think that a swastika is hate speech. I'm a Jew. Seeing a swastika makes me imminently fear. And there's a lot of hate speech that really is First Amendment protected, but that we find very uncomfortable.
If a property owner did consent to the swastika being projected, I mean, wouldn't that still fall under religious animus, under HB 269?
So if you haven't committed a crime and you project something with religious or ethnic animus onto that building, you've just carried out your free speech rights in the United States of America.
Where's the park?
Right around the corner.
Oh, nice.
Got my daughter with me.
Oh, right.
Recruited her for the getaway. We have one particular spot that we like because you get the Capitol in the background. For a while, we were able to project on that to building with sort of impunity. But hopefully they won't see us doing it for a minute. We'll get some good shots. It's hard to even use your fingers around here. Here, okay. Okay, there we go. Let's
focus. It's pretty well focused.
I think it's pretty focused.
You guys are where you can't do this.
No. Well, we don't quite understand why we can't do it.
I want to make this a bigger deal than it needs to be.
I know. I just want to know the rule before my speeches.
Demonstrating, and you can't do that in the buildings or on the buildings. You definitely can't project anything off the buildings.
But will you find the rule for me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
You have two sergeants on their way down. They can explain better to you.
Great.
He's going to look it up for you just so you know, but you can't plug that back in.
I may not. Yeah, we do this all over the country, and from our perspective, this is just like a fancy sign that doesn't actually hurt anybody. We're not harming anything.
Around the country, this is Capitol grounds. Capitol grounds have
this is the people's Capitol.
I'm just trying to explain to you.
That tripod and that thing pointed towards the building is going to have to go.
Okay, can you show me, tell me what the rule is that we're violating? That's all I'm asking for right now.
Okay.
Because to me, it seems like it's freedom of speech.
It's not freedom of speech. What are you pointing at? What's up on the building? What did you illuminate?
It's just no weapons, bombs for Israel. One more bomb for Israel.
Nope. You can turn it off now.
Okay. Yeah, so that's not hurting anybody. The bombs are hurting people.
It's the government building, sir.
I just want to know what the ordinance is or whatever.
CCR, sir. It's CCR
Thank you.
12.2.20. In addition, projecting of images of any building on Capitol grounds shall not be permitted. Okay.
Okay.
It's a fine of up to $300 or 90 days imprisonment.
We are going to take your information. You are not being arrested. You wouldn't be the one that turned it on?
Yeah.
Thank you.
What do you think?
I don't feel like going to jail tonight and then having to come back and forth for a court. I guess I could do that. I could just turn it back on and do that, but... All right, thank you.
Taken. You guys just back up. Just make sure you check the traffic regs for you.
I'm good now, for sure.
Yeah.
Make sure we what? We're going to check those regulations.
Oh,
got you.
Yep.
All right.
Before I go, do you guys have any questions on anything?
Have you seen projections before?
Yes.
Is that like a pretty common interaction, what we just saw?
Yeah. The only way that would ever end up being an arrest if we told you, like, all right, you need to stop doing it, and you were like, no, I'm going to keep doing it. And it was like, all right, well, now we have to do something about it.
Right.
But no one has ever walked up to somebody projecting and been like, you're under arrest, like, right?
But actually, that's not true. In 2019, Capitol Police detained an activist working with Robin Bell for projecting "discrimination is wrong" onto a Capitol office building. The charges were later dropped, but I still wanted clarity on what exactly is legal. When I emailed the Capitol Police, here's what they wrote back. If an individual complies with the initial request to cease projecting, then an arrest is not made and fines are not given. So, assuming all the officers are following the current policy, you could project anything you want on the Capitol complex without punishment until you receive a warning.
Light projection is sort of the visual equivalent of yelling. It is expression that is very loud for a moment, and then it's gone.
If we say something smart, we might get people in power to think about things differently.
Even though in some circumstances you might enjoy it, that's the fun of law, is trying to think what rule for everyone.
No different than a flashlight. It's on and then it's off. But it was effective, and they hated it for that.
Given that many projections are temporary and lawsuits are expensive, we're not getting a lot of common law regulation of this.
For as much as I dislike Nazis, they have a right to do what they do.
The intrusion onto the property is outweighed by the importance of protecting speech.
Many of the projections that were getting attention, largely urban elites agreed with. And so there was sort of I like this message, so this seems great, this is funny, it's not hurting anyone, it's temporary. And it can't just be the content of the message that really decides which of these are lawful and which not.
I don't mind if my worst enemies use light projectors. I definitely think it should be legal. I mean, it's another form of free speech. It doesn't hurt anyone, so long as you're not abusing people with it.
I would hate for those jackasses, though, to restrict other people's First Amendment rights. I think that's a dangerous road to go down.
As more groups turn to this provocative new medium, the debate over its proper role will continue to evolve. Does the right to free expression outweigh property rights? How committed are we as a nation to free speech? Should some voices be restrained? These difficult questions implicate our most fundamental rights, and their answers affect all of us.